Okay, today we're looking at Section 4 of Chapter 2 in Advanced Placement United States History concerning the Revenue Acts, Prime Minister Grenville, and the dawn of the American Revolution as far as the conflict as a whole. We need to establish the catalyst of the movement leading us to that. These were the documents we discussed the other day in class. You all have the notes for this, so we'll progress. That being said, here we're going to start off with tampering with tea. Okay, not necessarily tea itself, but how we sweeten it. Okay, the Sugar or Revenue Act of 1764 replaced the ineffective Molasses Act of 1733. Now we know that is ineffective because most of the colonists, when the tax was placed on molasses, would just go to the Caribbean for their sweetener anyway. It was geographically close enough that it didn't involve a lot of cost, and as far as its utility to rum, it wasn't very enforced anyways. Okay? Currency Act of 1764 superseded, which means it's going to replace and enhance, Currency Act of 1751. Forbade the colonists from printing their own currency. Now, do you think this is a bad thing? Basically what we have here, the Currency Act, is it's going to force you to use a hard specie of gold and silver, hard coinage, rather than an inflationary coinage or a soft currency like paper money. Okay, this is forcing you to use the English pound. Do you think this is that bad of an issue?
No, because wouldn't prior to this, you can print your own money, which is technically counterfeit?
Absolutely. Basically what we're looking at here is we're streamlining how currency is actually used in the New World, meaning rather than each of the groups in the room here, for the sake of the screencast, there are several, rather than each of you printing your own currency and trying to exchange group to group, you're all using my currency, the king's currency. Okay? It might cost you a little bit more, but it's uniform and trade becomes easier. Also requires that all taxes are paid with gold and silver. Again, that's not that bad of a thing. It's uniform, it's easily applied, and you know what is expected of you. Shut the door too, please.
Yep.
Quartering Act of 1765 required Americans to provide food and supplies to any British troops stationed in the colonies who required it. Good or bad? Bad, why?
Privacy, it's just annoying. I feel like that'd be annoying if people were just
Dangerous.
coming into my house.
Sure. Privacy, general annoyance, it could be unsafe. Danger was brought up.
What? Money.
Money, it costs you extra to feed and house these soldiers. If you're currently struggling and now you have, even if it's just one person versus 5, maybe you have upwards into 5, this could be a severe burden on your lifestyle. Okay? Now, this also related to a document we covered earlier in the class. What was it? Blank of assistance? Writs. Okay, as far as the intrusion of the government into your possessions. Now this possession, rather than being a ship, is your household. Okay, which a king in his castle, now we're looking at your castle. Continuing forward here, Stamp Act of 1765. This is where we get angry. Okay, now we have to we have to house people, but now you're going to tax our print material. All printed material. Okay? This was the single act that's going to cause the greatest wealth of anger. All right? In the fall of 1765, delegates of the 9 colonies met to form an organization, the Stamp Act Congress. How can we work with Parliament on this act? Because we all agree that we don't want it, but we also know that Parliament is essentially in charge. Okay, they issued the Declaration of Rights, stated that Parliament could not tax the colonists without effective and viable representation. Here we go. Now we have that fervor. We're firing up towards it. Taxation without representation. We will pay your taxes. We will pay this, that, and the other thing. We will quarter your troops. Give us something. Okay, give us something that we can hold dear, something that we value. Many Americans will boycott paper products altogether. If what you're doing doesn't require it, we know that we're going on the hard specie here, gold and silver, so we're not printing money anymore. And if you're a farmer and you can exchange things just crop for crop, thus you don't need those printed materials. Sons of Liberty, Loyal 9 groups attack tax collectors. Okay, we're going to tar and feather them. This is when that becomes popular. Okay, to send a message, we'll publicly tar you, which number 1 will burn, okay, which will leave lasting injuries. And we'll feather you to make you look like a fool. Now, what is one of the most important documents that is being taxed as far as print material?
It's a newspaper.
Newspaper, yes, the spreading of ideas. How about a book that is exceptionally important to a lot of people during the
The
colony?
almanac.
Almanac, not so much.
Bible.
The Bible, very
Bible.
good. I would write that the Bible is being taxed. Okay? Now you have a secular government. Parliament is taxing your ability, your access, potentially, to purchasing a Bible. Your government is stepping in on religion. Okay? Do you see how now the anger has shifted to a more elevated level? Anytime the government abuses its influence over spirituality, a lot of people get upset instantly. Okay? You've rallied a whole new demographic for this cause. Alright? Declaratory Act of 1766. Britain professed the right to tax colonists without a challenge, even as it repealed in the Stamp Act. We will tax you no matter what. We are declaring our right as Parliament to do what we want. Alright? You have no representation. You have no authority to say no. You are our citizens. And thus, if you do not pay the taxes, you will go to prison or worse. Okay? Response to the American cry of no taxation, no representation. That is our message. Yes, we hear your idea. Are we doing anything about it? No, you're our citizens. How many people love Parliament right now? 2. Good. Okay? Not many. The loyalists, who are higher ups in the government, higher ups in the economy, have no problem with this. But now we're starting to lose hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in the New World. Continuing forward here. Created the Townshend Acts of 1767. We're looking at Charles Townshend. All right? Products produced in Britain and sold in the colonies would be taxed once it reached American ports. In the process, over the Atlantic, we're going to inflate those prices up. Prices go up, taxable value goes up too, right? Okay? That desk that you're seated in right now might only cost you $30 off of production. But to ship it to you, to make sure it's safe and get inspected, all this stuff, we have to increase the price to $50. Under the Townshend Act, we're going to go ahead and increase it to $80 no matter what. $80, 10% taxation on $80 is far less than $30, right? So you're paying all that elevated amount of taxation to Parliament. We need to fund things, and you are the people who are going to fund it for us. Townshend established the American Board of Customs, assisting courts to address smuggling. Is smuggling a bad thing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay? But again, your government is restricting your rights to do this, that, and everything else. Is smuggling a bad thing?
Well, not in this time, no.
No,
Wait,
smuggling is soup in this time.
Smuggling is survival in this time. I would write that down. To address smuggling equals survival. Okay, now I'm not by any means advocating theft. Let's be clear there. I'm not by any means advocating that. But during this time, people are trying to survive. They can't afford this. They can't afford that. So thus they take measures into their own hands. Okay, you can see how revolution is becoming more and more popular of an idea here.
Was it like when we talked about the molasses and stuff? Was it frowned upon to smuggle it in from like the Caribbean, like sugar and stuff?
Frowned upon in the eyes of the government, that depends on your moral compass, whether or not you're actually doing a good deed. Okay, for example, we'll use the popular performance Les Miserables. He gets put into prison for multiple years for stealing a loaf of bread, Jean Valjean, to try to help his family survive. He stole a loaf of bread to help survival. Did he steal? Yes. Is stealing against the law? Yes. Is stealing against the 10 Commandments? Yes. Okay? But watching his family literally starve to death, that's when the moral compass becomes shifted to another realm. Okay, so is smuggling bad here? Yes. Is it stealing? Yes. Is it against the law? Yes. Is it a necessity to help survival?
Yes.
So the bad's outweigh the good.
To some, absolutely. Okay, yeah, it's that pros and cons here. Like I said, to be clear, I'm not advocating theft.
I am. And this time.
Okay, good. Circular letters become running rampant. Now, some of the more popular ones, letters from a Pennsylvania farmer. John Dickinson attacked Britain's right of assertion to tax the colonists to raise revenue. Basically, what we have here are circular letters. We'll look at like Facebook here. Okay? You have hold on. There is some positives to Facebook. There are a lot of negatives to Facebook, but there are some positives. For example here, let's say Joe Schmo posts an article about, or a news story, a link to a news story about something crazy that's going down in the South. Okay, for example, there was a police officer shot in Ferguson over the weekend. All right, so that's coming back. You're going to start seeing more and more and more about that. But what they posted possibly is information just the facts versus, emphasized facts to make you want to believe something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so you could compare what a non-example to circular letters, because you've all seen them on Facebook, for those who haven't. Click like to save this puppy's life, keep scrolling to burn for all of eternity in hell. You've seen those on Facebook or on the internet somewhere. Someone created that because they want to become popular. Yeah, I don't want to burn in hell. I want to save that puppy. Like, okay? You know that though. But, but you know that's true. Okay? Here we have your circular letters. Is the facts. What I would do, John Dickinson, I'm going to write a circular letter about my thoughts on why Parliament shouldn't be able to impose this, that, and everything else on us, the colonists. And then I'll get that printed. What am I going to use? A printing press. It'll look just like the woodcut, and I'm going to distribute it to all of you. Okay? It's just like Common Sense by Thomas Paine. I want you all to know your rights. I want you all to know how the government should be acting. Okay? Not click like, but FYI. All right? Continuing forward here, custom officers would be tarred and feathered and send a statement of disobedience to the crown as they're trying to impose law. So, tarred and feathered. Yes.
Like, or hot top.
Like it would. Yes. Yes. Now we're not talking asphalt grade.
Oh.
But yeah, it's that same idea, a warm substance that was tar based, and then we would throw chicken feathers on you.
So when
Chicken feathers would be fine, but the tar would be bad.
It would hurt.
they burn your
Real bad.
skin like 3
Yes.
degrees.
But you also got to understand during this time, considering fashion in colonial America, gentlemen, we didn't have a lot of exposed skin anyway. It would probably be neck up and forearms. I mean, if you are an official of the government, you'd have a formal pair of knickers on with socks, and you'd be dressed to the nines.
So they
More
wouldn't
than
they wouldn't be dressed.
no, they would not have. It's Hawaiian Day. They would not have a floral shirt on with pink shorts and sandals. Absolutely not. So it would hurt, yes, if it got to the exposed skin, but as a whole, you would be fine. You'd just be really embarrassed. Okay? Tea tax. There's always time for tea.
Oh,
It is always time for tea. What time is it? Time for tea. Okay? On summer night, 1772, British customs schooner. What is a schooner?
Schooner.
It's a boat. It's a smaller ship. Very good. Okay? The Gaspee ran aground. Now what we're looking at here is conflict in the area. John Brown's raid, moving forward. 1773, colonists began purchasing tea due to the fact that there was an abundance of English tea, which lowers the price, supply and demand. Okay? We have Adam Smith's invisible hand is now an intervention practice. Have you guys covered that in econ yet? I know we covered it for...
Econ is second semester.
Oh, okay. A couple seconds we did that in world history, but Adam Smith's invisible hand, supply and demand. Okay? Supply was so high, the British East India Trading Company was on the brink of bankruptcy. They can't earn profit because they're just trying to dump through what they have. All right, we're trying to survive. It's like everything went to the clearance rack. We're all happy. They are not because they're not earning the profit that they should have. Fearing bankruptcy, Parliament drafts the tea tax. Now, one thing you could compare the tea tax to, because look, it's Parliament. Okay? How involved do you think some of the members of Parliament are with the British East India Trading Company? We're going to go ahead and draft this tax. Think of it like this. Special interest groups in the government.
They're intertwined because they made the tea tax so they can survive.
Absolutely. Okay? How many members of the Senate and the House of Representatives have their hands in oil?
A lot. Probably.
A lot. So thus we always want to make sure that oil is priced constant to the realm of profit, right? We don't want the price of gas to drop to that, miraculous golden age of like 35 cents to even $1 would be a heck of a deal. We want to keep it high at right around $3.50 or even higher because we can tax that and gain revenue, right? Okay? So, look at it like this. Oil in the Senate and U.S. Congress is tea in Parliament at the time. Okay, that's our example here. Continuing forward. Colonists outraged by the tea tax responded to increased boycotting. But what we will do, containers of tea, as we're stealing it now, okay, because we're going to start stealing it. Containers of tea will be stolen from the English and used to fund the Continental Army. America. We're going to use your product, sell it in our area, and fund our army with it.
Hashtag America.
Brilliant, right?
Yeah, it is.
You're stealing, though. That's bad.
Land of free.
Consider this though, because the theme is moral compass. The theme for the day is this really impeding on your rights? Yes. Does it give you the authority to steal from the crown?
No. Yes.
Not really. Not really. But see, then you have your revolutionaries saying, yes, absolutely, we need to separate. Okay, this is just a pawn in the game of chess that we're looking at here. And then we have the others saying, no, it's still stealing, we shouldn't be considering that. The Boston Tea Party. Let's have a party over this.
Yes.
We should.
Okay? The Boston Tea Party. Now that being said here, Bostonians refuse to pay the tea tax. We won't do it. Okay? So what we're going to do, December 16th, 1773, we're going to dress as Native Americans and traditional individuals in society and toss it to the harbor. Okay, how do we celebrate a party in America? We throw it to the harbor. Governor Hutchinson returned to England as he had enough of Boston. So we're actually going to be so successful here at sending a member of parliament, we're going to send the governor back. He's like, you know what, I'm out of here. I have no control of these people. They're heathens. I don't want anything about this. I'm not about this life.
America.
That's his message. I'm not about this life. It's too hostile here. Things are going to get bad. I'm out. Colin Powell stepped down from George W. Bush's cabinet for fear of his rhetoric and actions involving Iraq. Same theory here. Hutchinson will step down as governor of Boston, governor of Massachusetts, for the same reason. Okay?
Because he didn't want to get all the people mad at him for when this happened.
Potentially, but he doesn't want to be blamed in the eyes of Parliament for what will be forthcoming as well. Because this is going to be one of your icons of revolution, and this is something you can talk about in your objectives as well. Okay? Now, what do we do as far as respond to this as Parliament? We, being Parliament, we're going to issue the Intolerable Acts, or they're also known as the Coercive Acts. Now, look at the level of punishment we have here. Boston Port Bill closes the port of Boston. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out. Okay? You guys, acting as heathens, throwing our tea, our possession to the harbor, now you receive nothing from anyone. We're basically going to militarize the harbor. You all are familiar with the Anaconda Plan, right? Civil War. We're going to do a very small and focused version of that to the Boston Harbor. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out. Administration of Justice Act requires that all trials of royal officials be accused of serious crimes, the colonies, while carrying out their duties, being held in Britain. So, if you are accused of a crime in the colonies, your trial is in London. Okay? You have to pay your way to get there. And what kind of jury of your peers do you think you're going to face when you get to London?
Not your peers.
Not your peers, Parliament's peers. You're guilty. You're still going to get a trial. It'll still be by jury of your peers because according to Enlightenment ideas of how government should act, you'll get all that, but it's my peers. Okay? Just like Joseph Stalin, free elections will occur in Poland and the Soviet bloc, but they will be governed by Soviet individuals. Okay? It makes sense. I allowed it, but it just didn't go the direction you wanted it to. Massachusetts Government Act limited citizens' rights to organize freely. Is that a constitutional right now?
Yes.
Absolutely. Freedom of assembly. We're not going to allow it then, though. So where did that idea come from as far as the drafting of your Constitution, the Bill of Rights? That portion, when you guys cover that in government, right here's where that idea is going to come from. You know, if you want to shine in your government class, well, actually, you know, it came from the Massachusetts Government Act in response to the Boston Tea Party, where Parliament said you can't assemble, you can't talk freely amongst yourselves, anything against me being the king and the prime minister. Because I don't want you guys to get ideas. Ideas are dangerous in the hands of government, right?
Yes.
Because then you start talking revolution, which we know we're going to go there anyway. Quebec Act also incorporated French Canadians and their lands into the British colonial American Empire. Meaning, boom, you are official citizens of this, and thus you must assimilate oneself. Boundary extended to south of the Ohio River. Wait a minute, that's Quebec now. South of the Ohio River. Okay, which is going to aggravate all colonists currently in the area. Catholicism recognizes Quebec's official religion. All the Protestants are officially angry. And non-representative government was established for its citizens. So boom. How happy are English citizens in the Ohio Valley now?
Very.
Look at very. Not at all. Okay, look at how this act up here, the Boston Tea Party, influenced all of colonial life. We've restricted the rights of people that had no influence at all in that conflict, and now have been subjugated to further punishments. First Continental Congress. September 1774, delegates of the 12 colonies, because one emerged, sent to Philadelphia to discuss the Intolerable Acts. Thus, we have the First Continental Congress. how do we go about handling all of these situations? Okay? Many of them are going to go ahead and go the route of secession. Total and formal revolution is not necessary. We do not need to proceed with that. We do not need to go to war over this. Okay? Others, however, argue that the only way to end this issue is to break from the crown. So now we're going to start establishing 3 specific groups as far as perspectives on the American Revolution, and here they are. Now, I want you to look at specifically who's in which group. Okay, radicals. We must have independence, and the only way to do that is through war. Patrick Henry, Charles Thompson, Sam Adams, John Adams. Okay, of these 4 here, this one's significantly important as that's your second president. Okay, these are all founding fathers. Moderates believe that the relationship in the colonies could and should be repaired. George Washington. He's the general of the colonial forces, of the Continental Army, and obviously will become your first president. Okay, but look at his perspective on the situation. We should repair the relationship. There's no reason to go to war. Okay, we know it will be forthcoming, and we're going to try many different steps, such as the Olive Branch Petition, to say, good king, good parliament, we're attempting to repair this relationship. Conservatives, John J. Joseph Galloway, repairing to pre-1763. Well, what do we know pre-1763 was known as? What's that time period known as? Starts with an S. Salutary.
Oh, neglect?
Neglect. Very good. We want to go back to that. Okay? Salutary neglect. Because that was working just fine for everyone involved. All parties involved, including the crown. Any questions? Okay. Jeffersonian influence. We know that he obviously, being a president, will be an exceptional key player, as well as the issue of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Summary of the views of the rights of British America. More radical delegates applied the following ideas. Parliament has no authority to tax colonies. Is that true or is that false? Parliament has no authority to tax the colonies. False. They're colonies of the crown, yes? Thus, they possess the right to do that. But, nonetheless, we're separating this, or we're sending a circular letter out, that the crown has no authority to do that. British Empire is a compact between the center and its colonies, not one unit dominated by Britain. This is the compact theory. You've heard of this before, right? Compact versus contract theory of government.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Each colony possessed its own legislature, independent of Britain's legislative authority. Meaning, we have the ability to govern ourselves here and handle our own domestic affairs. Parliament does not need to intervene. Okay? Collective allegiance to the king is the loose-knit situation that we have here. We believe in the king, we believe in the support of the king, but the king's influence is becoming intrusive. Delegates adopted the Statement of Rights, the Declaration, and resolves. Okay? Suffolk's Reserve is what it's initially known as in Massachusetts, but we're going to go ahead and evolve it into a federal example here. Following actions within this. Intolerable acts are null and void. We're no longer going to follow them. Okay, the nullification crisis leading to the Civil War. We're doing this as a unified level against England right now. Recommend that colonists arm themselves. Okay, 4 militias. Minutemen were organized, which obviously, hence the title, could be ready in the minute's notice as far as going to war. Now we are militarizing. The heavy idea here of this whole section here. Boom, boom, boom. We are militarizing society. I'd write that down. We are militarizing society. Meaning we are taking steps to go to war. Recommended a boycott of British imports. Associations were formed to enforce this. Meaning we're going to put together a group of people to go around and make sure you're not buying British goods. We're going to start using intimidation and even, you could argue, gang-style violence against our own colonists to make sure that you're not participating. Okay? Any questions? Next chapter, we cover the American Revolution. We go to war.
When's our class?